Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Um, I've worked uh, maybe 2 weeks on this, gathering all this information. So what I'm presenting is to help attract people for the sales funnel, right? And to guide them through. And I know that you guys probably know a lot of this stuff already and have already done all this stuff already, but I'm hoping to give some new ideas. So there is one part where I mention a few of my ideas. And then the rest of it I got from a guy named Seth Friedman, who does the marketing for Tibet House and Dharma Moon, um, two very successful organizations here, spiritual organizations. I received that information because I did my teacher training in for meditation at Tibet House and Dharma Moon, and they offered a several month long business course. And so I have several months of this information. So what I did is
Mm,
I made a curation of what I thought would be important for our moment right now. But there's more information to this that I could give if asked. Um, okay, so that's what this is. Okay, so I think the most important thing is understanding what a brand is. And this is not a video, this is from experts with a lot of experience. A brand is not a logo, it's not a product, it's not a promise, it's not an impression. A brand is a result, right? So everything that we're offering, everything we're marketing is based on a result that we're promising to a customer because they have some pain that they're trying to relieve. They have some challenge in their life they're trying to overcome. What is the result, right? Um, so we base our experience of brands like on a flight, right? I recently flew with American Airlines. It was absolutely terrible. Hundreds of people got delayed because of flight cancellations. And that's my experience. I look at that result, right? That's my gut feeling from now on about that company. Same with Spirit Airlines. Compare it to Delta, you know? It's the actual lived experience that you have, the result of the service, product, or company, right? A brand, especially a spiritual brand, right, is what ends up in the heart, the transformation, our reputation as an organization, right? So I wanted to offer, um, sometimes we may promise things that aren't very realistic. So this is a list of things that IHS has definitely done for me, right? IHS has healed my relationship with Western traditions in general, has healed my relationship to Christianity, has made me believe that a Western path is possible because I didn't really know. I was very close to just doing Buddhism. Um, has taught me how to be a man, like in a better sense than even what I got from my culture, taking on responsibility,
mm,
being
mm,
dependable, being an adult. And, I've been through a lot of spiritual organizations. When I was younger, I get upset because they're always asking me to do all these things and overloading me. But now I realize, having Mark give you a context of why that's critical. No one told that to me, right? This won't be here if you don't do this, right? Um, it's the spiritual practices and books, just reading through them, it actually ignites something in you. And you get a deeper sense of what this is that's intuitive and felt rather than something that's intellectual, right? It has made me a more useful teacher and servant to others, right? So I know we offer a lot of really big things, but to me, that's why I'm here,
mm,
right? This has happened to me in a relatively short time, and I think it would have taken a lot longer at other organizations, right? So for me, that's the brand of IHS, right?
Hmm.
Um, so as far as design goes, simplicity is strength. Simplicity is strength in general in anything that you do. Complexity is fragile. Memorability. I spent a long time designing my school sigil. This isn't a full reality now, but this is kind of like my new thought project where my stuff is going. I spent a long time designing this sigil until it had an impact, until it was something
Hmm.
really memorable and it makes a response. People notice shapes and colors first, right? Not the text, not the ideas, and you even experience imagery at different levels of your brain. For example, if you're watching a reel on Instagram or Facebook or something, one level of your mind is processing the video of a war scene as an immediate reality. The higher level of your brain is actually reading the text on the screen
Hmm.
and knows it's not there, right? So this
Hmm.
immediate deeper level of the brain is impacted by the shapes and colors first, right? Um, some ideas I think that are important to IHS. Timeless wisdom is kind of the business, right? Mark has spent the majority of his life going through countless traditions to find what really works, what is timeless wisdom, and sorting it out. So did John Dubuis. That's what they spent their lives doing, and now we
Hmm.
have all this, and it's our duty to take care of it and find a way to distribute it. So evergreen wisdom. I think nostalgia is a very big part of IHS. The whole conference, there was a nostalgia. And I know many of us are drawn to these certain time periods. I'm really drawn to the Renaissance. There's a deep nostalgia, longing to connect with this thing that we might have grown up loving in books. A sense of duty and responsibility, right? We got to make sure that this is here. We got to make sure that it doesn't get altered or warped again. We got to do our best to preserve it, right? Devotion. Everyone at this organization is very devoted. Everyone's offering a lot of service and doing the practices. Yeah, and service. Service is a major part of IHS. So the branding has to reflect all that. And many of these things also go to supporting not only our immediate life, but to the spiritual organizations that we're affiliated with. Like me and Jason are taking a lot of this wisdom to help Amwork right now and strengthening them. And Mark's even going to come to the cultural center and give a talk on spagyrics, which I'm sure has never happened, right? So IHS isn't even an insulated thing. It's going out to assist the groups that are there. Um, so these are these kind of deeper heart aspects that I want to bring up. Um, I really love this magazine, the early one, and James loves it too, so I think we're on the same page. I think
Oh
as far
yeah.
as publication, I think we should just really study this, the Mystic Triangle, the early Amorc publications, because I think it has all those things that we want. Just looking at this creates nostalgia. Um, and it's dignified, but also it's fun,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
This is
Yeah.
fun. It's a dignified delivery system. It creates nostalgia and it's fun. So you can go to rosicrucian.org and in their publication sections, you can download every Mystical Triangle publication as a PDF.
Are they in color?
There are color images. The later ones from the 30s and 40s had some color printings. But even just these, um, they have a dignified sense to them because of the craft that went into them. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
Another artistic thing, if you want a timeless feel, this is known as the Zorn palette. It's made up of lead white, yellow ochre, vermilion, and ivory black. This is what most of the paintings for since cave art have been painted with are these pigments in the
Wow.
West. These are classic colors that have authority and once again, this is just me re making a recommendation. So the Zorn palette is classic pigments. Um, Ochres are clays, umbers, siennas. If you want a more intense chroma, like you can think lapis or certain gems, vermilion, gold. Um, Amark uses gold in a kind of crimson. Those are their current branding colors. Um,
Have you looked at their previous color choices and compared it to their current ones? I mean, I recognize that the capacity to print has
yeah,
changed tremendously, but
yeah.
still, have you taken a peek at that at all?
I mean, they print a lot of different things. I'm not familiar with everything, but I do assist them in that capacity. I have made recommendations like that to them, but I don't know everything that they've done. Um,
I'm just wondering
yeah.
if their choices were better back in the 30s and 40s when, you know, the influence of Harvey was there as an artist because he was an artist.
Yeah, I think that and at that time the level of art training and art education was a lot higher for professionals.
Yeah.
They were classically trained, all of them. So I could have said this palette, they would have known that automatically, and they would have known classical composition and how to use leading lines and to create a focus. And the university system today doesn't have that. It's died out. Um, so that's what makes them so strong is the art education was a lot better then.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean, who do you find to make this? Today,
Hmm, yeah.
there's not, people don't have the time to paint that. And so, because of the demands on a professional, they just resort to digital whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I think we could make some critical decisions, maybe like in this one, I could invest a lot of time in designing something like this that's reused a lot, you know?
Uh, I one of the things when I saw Jamie Paul Lamb's Substack,
Yeah.
which I've not read all of it, but at some point he stopped and he said, I've never used any AI in any of my writing.
Yeah.
But furthermore, I'd like to go back. I'm going to go back to all of my old posts
Hmm.
and I might use stock footage, but
Yeah.
I don't want to have AI images.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think is fairly distinctive about a lot of our sites, some of the stock images that we got, I know because I've
Hmm.
put every single one on, might be AI generated.
Hmm.
But one of the things about the site in general is it has a very uh, organic, actual look to it.
Yeah.
And the content also does not feel AI generated. It's not,
Yeah.
but that's significant because I notice other even pretty other online schools without naming names, that have big names and people and everything has this very heavy AI feel.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of everywhere in people's lives. And I think that may be something that we can differentiate ourselves is just that level of reality and that commitment to reality. And that's something that we can not only do, but it's
Hmm.
even something we can talk about because I think there's a lot of people, if you're getting into, as you say, these elements of timeless wisdom, nostalgia,
Yeah.
there's a reaction to AI, and even though, as you say, it's a lot more work,
Hmm.
but having something that is just an organic product can be a feature, not just you know, uh, it can be a feature, not a bug, as they say.
I think it's critical. because people make fast, off the cuff decisions today. They don't have time.
Hmm.
And people's eyes are incredibly developed today, right? We process so much media in a split second. They can look at that font and the images and everything intuitively know if they want to spend their time with you or not. So I think it's
Yeah.
critical, but we don't want to become idealists. We have to have a practical approach, and we can update stuff over the years, right? A slow development,
Right.
because we can't just jump to this right now. It'll be a slow development, and we have to make very thoughtful decisions about what's worth investing time in imagery
Mm.
wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what you've done with the website is a massive leap forward. It's a massive leap forward for IHS. And I really like the quality of images you put on there, which is critical. Um, but back to the brand. A brand is a result, a chain in a spiritual company, right? Like Tibet House of Dharma. It's a change made in the heart. They're really trying to transform or heal some pain, right? And what is the result of our efforts? All of us are dedicating enormous amount of time to this, and this will take up the majority of our life, and we should reflect on that when we do our work. And considering that, what is the proper vehicle to contain and communicate our life's effort, right? And we've done the you everyone's had to do these things kind of fast and quick, but now I think that it's coming to kind of a resolved place. We can invest more into this vehicle aspect, getting it out, which is the whole point of this talk. So here's kind of the current IHS branding. These are the colors. Um, this is the logo. And I picked a photo like the ones you used on the website, which reflect a kind of storehouse of wisdom, a library, and things like that. Okay, so the first recommendation. So now we're going into Seth's Friedman's ideas. So this is my adaptation of his ideas. The power of specialization. So I found Mark because at the time I was into lucid dreaming. I wanted to find a Western lucid dreaming practice because I had been relying on Tibetan Buddhism to fill in the gaps. I eventually found Mark after watching several interviews and I began looking into him. So, like I said, I'm an AMRC and um, AMRC got me grounded in Western practices, but I was looking for something more advanced like Tibetan Buddhism. Someone who actually represented the history of esotericism accurately, because Amric lies a lot about that. Someone who wasn't obsessed with Atlantis. I want something practical. Someone, Mark, Mark knows that. So sick of hearing about Atlantis. Someone Western who understood the importance of mental training and meditation. All the meditations in Amrit were
Mm.
so fast, you're flying around in your head, and it's just like, I've done Buddhism. I know this isn't going to get me anywhere. I branched out. I went into Boda. I went to TMO. I went to Gnostic Rosicrucian groups. I went to all these things, but it wasn't what I was looking for. It wasn't, I didn't think I could solve that pain point there. That's the key. I was trying to solve this pain, a very niche pain, right? And I was tired of joining lodges that weren't going anywhere, right? That kind of made you pity them in order to join them. Oh, we're barely surviving, or and full of people that I didn't really want to be like, you know?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so every group you go to, you got to commit to this and join this thing and do this in years down the line. You don't even know if it's going to pay out,
Hmm.
right? I think IHS solves that problem. Um, so I wanted personal guidance also from someone who's experienced, not just the person who's been there the longest. And someone who could explain to me what the clear end is for the student.
Mm.
I'm not sure what the clear end is for the other organizations I've been involved in. What is my result, right? And I don't want to become an Eastern guy, wearing jeweled beads and everything. I want to be a Westerner. But I've had to go do Buddhism. I had to go do these things because I couldn't find anything that could solve it the way it could there. And I think that's the main reason I'm here with Mark, is Mark understands Tibetan Buddhism and he's building a system like that. That's a complete system with clear goals, right? Tibetan
Mhm.
teachers can explain it's so clear cut and detailed how you get to where you want to go, right? And Mark's doing that. So on the current statement, when I went to the website, I discovered Mark on YouTube. I went to the website. I read this. The Institute of Hermetic Studies preserves the living traditions of Western esotericism. I wasn't sure that he offered teaching. I wasn't sure that I could get classes. I thought this just a like a library, right? It wasn't until certain interviews that I heard Mark say that there was a teacher training and there were courses, but it's on Teachable. So then I tried to find the Teachable and I couldn't find it, right? And then I began emailing, but the emails went on for a while, and I was trying to connect. It wasn't until I said I did a lot of service for Amorc that I started getting a big response. And then already, I jumped into service. That was a big commitment, right? It took several months, and I had to offer something up front just to get stuff going, right? So it's very hard to get into IHS. Um, So what Seth recommends is we need to become more people focused and focus on niche problems. Who's coming and what is their pain? And the more niche, the better. Now, intuitively, that sounds like a bad idea because we know that these things could help most people. So why would we want to limit? We limit so that we can actually build an audience more directly. We become easier to find, right? We don't have to be everything to everyone. We have very specific things, the German Hermeticism, right? The Brauche, the powwow,
Mhm.
Renaissance magic, Western lucid dreaming, the presence of God, the body of light. These are very niche things that no one else is offering, right? And I think we need to lead with that to attract people who are trying to fill in the gaps, because I think that's what IHS is going to be. It's a place where you fill in the gaps and help support people, right? Going through Western orders that are incomplete. Um, so that's one thing. Okay. So in continuing the specialization, who do we want? Who do we actually serve, right? We can be open to everyone, but it helps if we know who exactly we're trying to attract. How old are they? What gender are they? Sexuality, cultural identity, personal interests, profession, etc. What specific issue are we solving for them? The bigger the issue and the longer they've been in pain, the more willing they are to pay and become a student, right? The more they're willing to invest, right? So we need to focus on those pain points for conversion. IHS is full of white men, right? That's mainly who we are. Um, between the ages of 30 to 50, probably, right? That's who we currently are attracting. Is that who we want? Do we want to attract younger people? Do we want more women? Do we want, if we need to decide who do we want as part of the specialization in a broad sense of ways. Um, so another thing is when we're presenting ourselves, uh, we need to show that we have a deep knowledge about the struggles that we're offering to fix and the challenges within our niche. It's the main thing we need to put up front. We need to speak about it in a way that builds credibility by demonstrating our competency, by using jargon within our niche, and presenting qualifications. I know Chogyam Trungpa didn't like credentials, but credentials are important. And what niches are we in contact with already in our network? Uh, Testimonials, where are they? We need them. We absolutely need testimonials. And we need to go to where our prospective students already are. We need to go to them and advertise where those people are. But first, we got to figure out our specialization and niche in order to figure out where they are and go there. Um, I've just been slowly choosing people that I think have good character and IHS would fit them. You know, like Shane, I brought him over. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not a lot of people. I don't think
No.
a lot of
No.
people be ready for this kind of thing. Um, so I think the current statement is accurate, but I think it'd be helpful to make a more precise brand statement. I help niche overcome specific challenge using our services so they can the result. That's the template. So for my spiritual art school, my statement that I crafted is I help inspired creatives overcome their artistic limitations, parentheses, technical, creative, or purpose, through mentorship in classical art, creativity, and spiritual development, so that they can make art of refinement and realization. That's the first thing on my website, and I memorized that so I can just tell people if I get asked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, my sort of like mission statement for life. I make art a path that leads to the soul's flourishing. That's it. That's what my day is dedicated to. So I make
Wow.
decisions around that. So if we have something really niche like that, people can get on the website and know who we are and that we can solve this particular problem. And it will deflect people who that we can't really serve, right? So we want to attract people that we're really going to benefit that it's
Mm-hmm.
for us and deflect the people who it's not going to work for quickly. Um, so it needs specificity. The more specific, the better. It needs authenticity. That heart aspect that I was presenting in the beginning needs that authenticity and a believable outcome. A believable outcome is really important. Like I showed the outcomes I've had, I think those are very believable outcomes. And I think those are important because I think people want to connect with their culture, but they grew up and, religious trauma is a thing that's widespread. Problems with church or synagogue or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or all over the media, not being able to find good teachers. IHS can solve those major pain points and help people reconnect with their spiritual tradition in a rational, critically thought out way.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not just more fundamentalism or whatever, right? We need to test this brand statement with current clients. We need to get feedback on it and refine it over a period of time. So I think this would help a lot. Um, James, you probably already know all this and you already did this, but I'm just presenting it because
No,
this
this
is
is fantastic. This is fantastic.
okay.
Don't think this is redundant. This is wonderful. I'm
Okay.
taking a lot of notes.
Okay, so this is Seth's design of a funnel. This was the template he made and he sends out. You see the top, there's a logo and navigation. Header, headline, subheader. Then below is the challenge, right? What's the problem? What's the pain point? Address that early, right?
Mhm.
Below that, the desired result, right? What did they want relieved, right? Then introduce yourself. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. Here's proof. Here's our testimonials. Here's videos of students. Here's people who've written back to us that said this actually works, right? Here are the steps you need to take. Here's our call to action. Right now, our call to action is unfolding the rose, right? And then the footer. That is the page, and that also creates a what he called a nurture sequence to get people to convert.
Mhm.
Um, all right, so let me see. Yeah, common. This is his common mistakes for websites. Um, well, this is let me talk about the benefits of a website. A website is 24/7 discovery. He said it was essential. You must have a good website. The website is a place where you can build a narrative about who you are, which I think is important and something we need to add to IHS. Um, it's a place where you can learn about what you provide, like what's being provided. It gives people an easy path to work with you. The homepage should quickly convey what you do and who you help. The site navigation needs to be simple. There needs to be a clear call to action. There needs to be testimonials and case studies to build credibility. High quality photos. I think we got that. Content, articles, podcasts, etc. to help bring in web traffic, which I think we got that. Very well done. A design that works well on the mobile phone because he said over half of the
Hmm.
people discovering it are through mobile devices. Very few people are searching you guys on the laptop. Does it look good on a mobile device? Common mistakes.
Do you think
Yeah.
our site doesn't look good on a mobile device? That's fine if
I
it does, if
haven't
you don't think it
I
does.
haven't looked at it on the mobile device. I've looked at it only
Yeah,
on
we tried really hard to make it mobile optimized.
yeah.
I even tried to make sure that the homepage would be like Mark's face on it and everything. We had an alternate image
Yeah.
so that it would so that places where it would be overly busy or wouldn't work,
Yeah.
we tried to make it really mobile friendly and mobile optimized. But if it's not, please let me know because
Well, I'll
that was a
look at it.
priority.
I'll look at it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just giving you what the master said.
I was just no, totally. I was
Yeah.
just making sure that when you were bringing this up, if that was a if that was a, you were expressing a concern. Anyway, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. I think the only thing I was pushing hard is the current statement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
could be
I see what you mean.
refined a lot, and that would solve a lot of problems in the funnel. Okay, so this is his common mistakes. The web page lacks clarity about what you offer and who you help. Um, there is no site strategy, right? That means a process of giving the narrative, discussing the pain, and bringing people to the call to action. Um, Overloading visitors with too many choices. He
Hmm.
says you need to have one main lead magnet, and for a bigger organization, which we are, you could have a few, right? So just a few call to actions on the main page. Um, you need to get their email, which we got. Um, Trying to sell too soon. You want to develop a
Hmm.
relationship and build that trust. You need to make um, a clear case for you're doing, and another one that was content isn't engaging. So when he said, as far as design, he says a minimal design is better. You want an uncluttered layout. You want short paragraphs. He said 15 words was best for a paragraph. Um, People will quickly evaluate you based on the quality of your online presence. Quality is a must. The photos have to be good. The design has to be good. Uh, Photos of you actively teaching. He really supported that, or group photos, right?
Hmm.
People doing it. Okay, so that was his recommendations for website. I think this template is really important for the sales funnel. Um, he said emails where it happens. That was the most important thing. This is where you deepen the relationships and initiate sales. Um, so email is the most effective tool for building your business. It gives you the most control over it. Many of the other things you do in the funnel don't allow for that much control. Emails where you have the most control and direct access to interested people. It is the most intimate way to connect, right? You need a system in the email where you can automate emails and track emails. So as soon as someone responds, an email needs to go out to them,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So um, it also needs to be easy for them to unsubscribe so you don't become a spammer, right?
Hmm.
Um, Recommendations for him for building that was just directly reaching out to your current contacts across all platforms and asking if they want to join. He said, even though these people may not be the ones who are going to become the students or the buyers, they already like you. And they'll be following your emails and they'll promote you to people who they think it will be good for. Right? So the sales list isn't always going to be buyers. It can be people that are going to promote. Um, yeah. So I think we're pretty good on emails too. Social media. So this was one of his clients. This is a screenshot of his Instagram page. Um, okay. Social media is where most people will go to check you out, right? And I think that's probably where we're the weakest, except on YouTube. IHS is very strong, but social media presence. They'll go there to check you out to get a sense of who you are. So this needs to be developed. He recommended focusing on one or two platforms only.
Hmm. Hmm.
He says it's way too hard to do all of them. And if we know who our niche is working with, right, we can choose those strategically. YouTube and Facebook are older, you know, maybe millennials and boomers, right? Instagram will be millennials and maybe Gen Z. TikTok will be the youngest, right? So we need to pick those very strategically, which ones we're going to invest in based on our strategy. Um, he said Facebook is still the largest platform and not to overlook it. And he says once you set up a business page, they have great paid marketing.
Hmm.
Um, so he was highly recommending Facebook um, because of the ease of marketing on there. Everything else is very demanding, like Instagram, as everyone knows, is extremely demanding. So Instagram is great for photo and video content, short form videos. Sites like Canva can help you. They have templates already made. He said stick to one template, be consistent with it, and keep it simple. Keep it very simple and consistent. He said the two most successful things are slider. The photo sliders that have 10 images that you can slide through with
Hmm.
quotes on them. He said those are very good. Or record your face talking. So when I
Okay.
was doing his class, I thought I would experiment and made videos recording my face talking. And I did them consistently for maybe 4 months. And I had a
Mm.
few videos go viral. One of them got 70 something thousand views.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
they were all 20 to 40 seconds, just me walking, talking in a very relatable way about pain points. I'm no longer doing those. I just wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to see
Hmm.
if it worked,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it worked. But it was an enormous amount of work. It made me pretty neurotic to keep up with it.
Hmm.
It's enormous amount of work. Um, in the bio, so here we see there's a picture. So this is for an individual. This is Lama Rod Owens, right? Um, and he went and did, the long Tibetan 3 year thing, but he was kind of mixing it with Black Christian, Black church practices and things, right? So that's kind of his niche is bringing these things to the Black church, the Black community. And so here we can see how the bio's written. So we get a very quick sense of who this guy is, and then here's the call to action. This
Hmm.
is going to be his lead magnet for conversion. He also talked about the importance of these. I forgot what these are called, but these allow us to categorize everything. So if people want to find out these things real fast, they can just jump in and get a deeper sense of us without having to scroll through everything we've made. Right? You see how there's categories: events, new stuff, wisdom, podcasts he's been on, IG Live. So I think we need to do all of that and have a clear call to action and figure out if we're going to be slider people or face people. But Jacob was doing good. I think the videos he was doing were really nice. But you have to stick to a consistent schedule. It can't stop. You got to pick certain days of the week when your audience is going to be there.
Hmm.
And one of the things that you can do is you go through.
What was he doing? I'm not on Instagram, so I was.
Jacob took some stock video, just like you'd seen a
Hmm.
commercial, and he was putting Mark's audio from different classes in it. So probably
Oh
30
wow.
seconds of audio under stock image, stock video, right?
Okay. Okay.
So he was
Groovy.
making
I
those
see.
reels. And reels are where it at. That's what I did that made a huge boom. Um, so what you can do is you stock up, right? You make some for several months and
Hmm.
then you slowly release them, and then you have a realistic schedule for the rest of the time. So if we're investing in Instagram, which it looks like we are, I recommend that stocking up, taking several months to make hundreds of them, and then slowly releasing them, and then having a realistic schedule where people can make it without losing their minds. Um, YouTube is ideal for long form content. It's great for searchability. That's how I found Mark, right? That's probably how
Hmm.
most of us found Mark is YouTube. It's the world's second biggest search tool, right? So it's next to Google. So we should keep that in mind. I think we're pretty good on there. TikTok, he said it has the fastest growth potential if you're consistent, but he said all of his clients who did TikTok, it didn't translate into any sales. So it's not worth investing
Hmm.
in, and the future's uncertain. He said X, Twitter, Threads, all those things like that are great places to test content because the algorithm can give you fast feedback. So if you want to test an idea out, those are a good platform. But I think probably
And of course we have people doing Substack.
Substack, yeah, but I think maybe for us, YouTube, because we have long form content, that's pretty obvious. But either Facebook or Instagram. And if we're attracting mainly men 30 to 50s, that's going to be Facebook anyways.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Well, I think you also might find some uh, some of that crossover with Substack. I mean, you'll see with
yeah,
like as I said, Jimmy Paul Lamb, Yuri, um,
yeah,
Dad Darling, Ike Baker. I mean,
yeah,
for a lot of these people, Substack is very big because it's Mark. I mean, his Vox Hermes is incredible.
yeah,
What is Substack? It's Vox Hermes.
yeah,
I'm just bringing this up as a possibility because that
yeah.
is again that is something that we have an incredible back catalog of. I mean, an
Hmm.
enormous back catalog of, and that is a place where you reach a certain demographic. I mean, obviously, Substack is people. It's like the long form content thing. People who want to sit down and read a big article. you know?
I remember him speaking highly of Substack. I think he
So
said that was a great
I
place
just
for conversion and mainly books and things like that to
yeah.
really
So I
grow
just think
there.
that's worth bringing up just because I I know we have to leverage our time and effort very carefully, and that's something that um, we might be able to do. Again, just an idea.
Um, okay, so this was his overall advice for all the social media. You must be consistent, or it's not worth the
Hmm.
effort of doing it at all. You must find a rhythm with posting and engaging. You can't just post, you also have to engage. You have to respond to
Hmm.
comments, respond
Hmm.
to messages. Um, Stick to one or two platforms and
Hmm.
work with them and respond to them to build that connection. It's just a part of the overall strategy. It's not, this isn't everything. The social media isn't everything. It's just part of the overall
Hmm.
strategy. Um, the website and the email is where it's really at. That's where you're going to convert.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I mean that's the lower down part of the funnel.
yeah, so
That's the conversion part.
you want to convert them off social media to the email
Hmm.
list.
Right.
That's what you want, or the
Yeah.
website. So that should be the whole goal with social media is to get people off of it onto our email and website. Um, so that the relationship can begin to deepen. He said it took almost eight points of contact to get people to commit, right? So this is
Wow.
really building a relationship. It's not going to be one or two times. Um, you want to be realistic, right? I think it's really easy to be too idealistic with social media. You want to focus on building a solid and engaged community. He said, don't care about followers. You want real followers. You want real committed people who like you. You want to build that. Okay, let's see what I got. So all of this, so we want to get people off of social media or off of YouTube or whatever and direct them to the email website. So we want to lead them to a lead magnet. So how do we get these people that we've attracted to take action, right? A lead magnet offers a free item or service. So this could be a video, an ebook, a trial subscription, a discovery call, a webinar, etc. Anything like that in exchange for contact details. This is a
Hmm.
critical part of the funnel. Um, so he said, absolutely don't be greedy. Give high quality lead magnets that are genuinely helpful. He said this was incredibly important. Seth discussed one Buddhist center he worked for, and he said he thought they did a great job because they would only use their best teachers for the open house. They took the
Mm.
highest up people in the organization and put them out front at the wide open mouth of the funnel, which was their open house,
Yeah.
to increase conversion. So we want to put our best up front. Um, let's see. So always put your best at the top of the funnel to encourage the most conversion. Um, you always want to give the top of the funnel the most attention, the absolute best experience you can. So that's his recommendation. An effective lead magnet addresses and partially solves the core problem. Give them enough to know it's worth the investment. So it needs to have that aha moment for them. It and it is a natural stepping stone to full conversion, right? There needs to be clear steps. Um, don't if we give like a free course or something, we don't want to require them having to go out and buy stuff or investing a lot of time in the lead magnet. It needs to be simple. So some of them from the course, there was a lady who wanted to make a meditation business for postpartum mothers, right? Or,
Hmm.
to help them get through that process. See, that's a niche, very specific, a way to apply that spiritual teaching. So it's very easy for them to find. So she was making a 10-minute guided meditation for postpartum mothers. She also made a short video series for how to deal with sleep deprivation for these mothers. Okay, there was another guy who wanted to do meditation for athletes. He made a 5-minute pregame focus visualization or a post-game recovery meditation. You see how specific these are and how easy these would be to
Hmm.
find if you had that pain? Um, Here's one that I thought of for Mark. Astrology and tips for investors. Those finance guys that are interested, that would attract some high-income people to IHS. Or also for them, how to handle Mercury retrograde, for business owners or things like that. Um, those are fun and relatable to people who are interested in that in business. Um, you want to give away insights, but sell the implementation, right? Give them the insights, give them the aha, but don't give them the practice. Let them buy the practice, right? In this. Um, your audience will judge the value of the paid courses based off of the free stuff, right? So this is their first contact. They're going to judge if they want to work with us based on this lead magnet. Um, at the end of the lead magnet, it needs to have a clear next step, right? So we really need to think of
Hmm.
this nurturing process. It's critical. You have a clear next step. So he called that the nurture sequence. So we're bringing them in, we deliver the lead magnet. And then once we get the email and everything, we begin building a familiarity through them with up to 8 or more contacts, right? This will increase trust. And once this trust is built, it'll motivate them to take steps forward in solving their challenge, that we're the ones who can actually solve it. Um, and then we need to show them how they can take how we need to show them how we can offer further support on that journey. That's full conversion, right? So
Hmm.
they're going to trust us to solve this problem, right? They're going to not choose someone else. They're going to decide that we're the ones who can solve this problem in their life. Um, so that is the nurture sequence. It's very important because we're doing spirituality. So many of the people in the program, there's one doing sort of spirituality for hospice, right? And these people going in these critical situations, it's going to require a lot of trust and confidence that we can solve these problems. Um,
Hmm.
let's see. So here's my critique. I know a lot's changed with the new website, but my feeling looking at IHS in the beginning was piecemeal because it had to be. It was mainly, one or two guys building this over time. So it had a piecemeal feeling, overwhelmingly big. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to start. Even our lead magnet, Unfolding the Roads, is overwhelmingly big, and you can get lost in it. At the time, it was very hard to access, right? Like I talked about the dedication it took to get in. A lot of the things in IHS are very heavy, right? There's this heaviness and a lack of open discussion. Um, the community's talking. A lot of groups I've seen will have study groups based around courses or on online courses. One of my favorite things at Tibet House is they had breakout groups where you'd have the big lecture and then you'd break out in a group of 3 people and it would just be you guys talking about that. And that's where I started having the real deep emotional connection, hearing these other people and feeling like I'm a part of a group. And at the end of the Dharma Moon training, we felt like a community. And I've even
Hmm.
stayed in touch with some of those people because we went through something together actually, you know?
Yeah.
So I think open discussion is very, very important. Um, okay, let's see. So my suggestions, uh, we got these teacher trainings, we got all these people now, let's use them.
Hmm.
In the lead magnets that we're going to specialize. And I think sometimes at IHS we think way too big. Most people don't want to take on a heroic journey. They're already living through a heroic journey of just surviving in modern day.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're raising kids. They're already maxed out and overwhelmed. If we can provide any relief, which I think the Buddhist groups I was in were doing very well, like to the moms and these people, they need help getting through their already heroic journey, right? So, basic meditation, basics of prayer, any basics, anything that can soothe these problems. We need to focus on everyday issues. Building narrative, there's lots of great stories and lots of things that IHS has overcome, and Mark's full of all these stories about people. Build a big heroic narrative that's vulnerable, right? Expose something, and so people can connect, talk about struggles, um, you know, we need fun. These
Hmm.
things need to be fun. We need a lighthearted, low commitment stuff that provides relief and is fun. I think arts and things like that would attract a lot of people. Um, and I think also we could eventually update some of the printings. The thing is mainly the books that look a little piecemeal.
Hmm.
Mark,
Yeah.
I put the artisanal books in there. We could make a few artisanal books.
I,
Uh,
I think,
yeah,
my goal is to make all of those monographs an artisanal book. We've got
yeah,
presently there are low cost monographs available.
yeah.
We should feel just fine about creating, expensive hardbacks of
Yeah.
this incredibly valuable material and collecting,
Yeah.
all
This
of
is
those
gonna
works
be
in
on
big
their
collections.
oratory. It's gonna be in their sacred
Mm.
space, right? And I know it's nice to have it's great to have affordable books, but if there's something about that, the beauty of the book, and like I'm investing in this for my life.
Right.
This is my
Mm.
life practice, having this beautiful book on the oratory, it becomes a devotional object or a talismanic object. Um, so some of my ideas where I think what I'm seeing in the world is there's a lot of fear in the world right now. There's a lot of mental health issues. There's a lot of financial insecurity. There's a lot of need for safety and basic needs. I don't think it's the big uh, exploratory, I want to go into lucid dreaming, astral projection stuff anymore. I think people are scared, and it's kind of back to like how Amark began, the 20s and 30s and 40s. Just the kind of new thought would do great. But I think defensive magic, arts and crafts, making the prayer flags and things like that will do very well. Making devotional objects, I think, is very soothing. Um, Making an oratory. Talk about how to make an oratory,
Mm.
how to make it
Mm.
beautiful, how to make this sanctuary in their house, this place that they're in control of, that's beautiful, where they can connect to God. How to do the lighting, the candles, to set up music, incense, all these things would be very helpful. Um, let's see, deepening prayer is a great way to self-soothe. Basic guided meditations around a problem, like the ones I talked about with the postpartum mom or athletes, something like that. I think basic text studies, someone discussing just a short bit of the Corpus Hermeticum or a core text would be
Hmm.
great because those are hard for people to penetrate, especially with the low level of education that's out there.
I'd love
Yeah.
to do that. I'd love to do that. Just on the Asclepius and just parts of it. I think that can be approachable for a lot of people. Yeah.
And see, that's the point. I think we should make the lead mags whatever you get really excited out of. I'd be great with oratory and any arts thing. I'd be actually having a good time doing that, right? So
Hmm.
whatever the teacher trainers or whoever wants to help, what would they actually feel joy doing? That will help
Mm.
with the brand because that person's genuinely excited about that. Discussion groups around the course could be great, even if it's just a chat group, but a regular meeting around one of these massive, even unfolding the rows, just a regular
Hmm.
discussion group every quarter or something like that, I think would be very popular to help
Again,
people.
as you say, leveraging the teacher trainees.
Yeah,
Mark doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. All the teacher trainees should be deeply familiar with unfolding the rose. They aren't
yeah,
Mark. They don't need to speak for Mark, but they can also just talk about their own experience and understanding from unfolding the
yeah,
rose. But they've all written papers on it.
yeah,
They could totally be available to sit in for a discussion group on unfolding the rose, as you say,
yeah,
4 times a year.
yeah,
You get 4 people,
yeah,
you know, to dedicate once a year to discussing unfolding the rose.
yeah.
That's too much.
No, I mean I don't think a lot of
That's
the teacher trainings have actually taught at all.
yeah.
So this would be a very mutually beneficial thing. I taught so many courses for free to get experience teaching. And it
Yeah.
was critical because everyone's bad at teaching. It takes years to get good at it.
Hmm.
It takes
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
It's a whole craft and skill.
Yeah.
Especially spiritual teaching is very sensitive. Um, so I think this would be really important for the future of IHS is getting the teacher trainees, the people who are dedicated to this experienced teaching, and also be attracting a lot of people. And also, I have a great teacher training course layouts from the Pet House and Dharma Moon of how to structure a Dharma talk. So that's a 20 to 30-minute talk, right? Where including the
Hmm.
meditation. And I found it extremely helpful, and I use it for all my classes, even my non-spiritual classes. I use that.
Oh, well.
It's just a good format, and it was based on how they actually taught in Tibet. So they just kind of formulate, turn into a formula that you could fit in for a Dharma talk or whatever. You
It
pick
it
one
it it
little idea.
helps.
Yeah,
It helps overcome resistance for people
yeah,
if you give them a form, you
yeah,
know, because people don't know where to start. As you say, everyone's terrible at teaching to begin with.
yeah.
Um, if you give people a form, Mark suggested, there was weren't you the one who suggested, Mark, about how to make a TED talk?
Yes, I did. I sent that out. I did send that out. One or two videos on that, on how to do a TED Talk,
Yeah, and I think
because
that
you're dealing with a 5 to 15 minute presentation there, and I do remember
right.
sending that out now.
And the wonderful thing about that is that it essentially gives people a template,
Yeah.
and it helps overcome resistance where people start staring at a blank page. And now you've got a form. Okay, this is how you lay it out.
I think on points of just language, though, um, we're dealing with people's. We're not dealing with their pain. Um, I know that's a very popular term, and a lot of Buddhists like to throw it around, but we're dealing really with their confusion, because people can recognize being confused. They don't necessarily recognize being in pain. And if we get people who recognize that they're in pain, then they're going to expect a therapeutic situation.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
that's why Buddhism is filled with so many neurotic Western women. Okay.
It is also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Now, I know this is really important because we all have seen it. So we're looking to solve their confusion.
Mm.
And I think that's also an issue in terms of just the way Buddhist language is poorly translated. Life is suffering, and it really should be life is confusion. It's uncertainty. So we're going to help solve their confusion around X. The other is we're not looking for sales, we're looking for enrollments. They're not buying a hamburger, they're not even buying a book. They're enrolling in a course of instruction. And that really needs to be understood. And it may sound like a point of different, nitpicking, but it's not, because we're not selling them anything.
Mhm. That's part of the values. That's part of the way
Right.
we brand everything we do. Is the language is
Yeah.
enrollments and addressing confusion.
Their confusion, right? Their uncertainties, their confusion. We're helping to bring clarity, um, because can't relieve your pain. Hell, I couldn't get my kid to come home for lunch and not be in a collision. No, I mean
Yeah.
that seriously.
Yeah.
So um, we have to really, in that way, we're being realistic about what is capable. Because when all of you went to volunteer, I always said, "What do you want out of this first, rather than what are you
Right.
willing to do?" Because I want to make sure that what you wanted was possible. Because if it's not, then go volunteer somewhere else, or I need to let you know that, so we can't really do that. We can't provide that. So this is part of the clarity in terms of the audience. there really isn't a clarification on audience. It's always an open door policy, a big funnel, which I know makes it difficult for the marketing, particularly as marketing increasingly gets so demographically driven,
Hmm.
so specific. Um, this has created a tremendous amount of issues because, which I brought up to us in group and I brought up individually and I brought it up even at different presentations from Masonic events. But if we just look at the gender issue, um, nothing that we do is really very touchy-feely. And at the end of the day, in all the groups I've been in, um, as soon as you get into anything technical, you almost always lose most of the women. And that's where we've seen the why Tibetan Buddhism in the West does not resemble Tibetan Buddhism in Nepal or Tibet. Because as soon as the women have always been the major force of social change, which is interesting historically across the board. You even see jokes about it in ancient Greece. But once that change takes place, then what? When the heavy lifting has to be done and you're into the nitty-gritty parts of some of this stuff, for whatever reason, we don't want this to degrade into, psychotherapy. And in fact, that's been a difficult point. I just share this with you because it goes into the quality of the teacher training or the teacher trainees. You know, I've backed off a lot with people and talking about their personal problems with them because that's not tradition. You would help people with their method, you would help people with their understanding, you'd help people with their technique, but you didn't help them solve their personal problems. They were supposed to be able to find a way to do that themselves through the method. So we have to help them solve a problem, but not become their therapist. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because you're not their therapist. Because we at the end of the day, you will talk to them in ways that therapists don't. Because the therapist has to make sure they keep getting the third-party reimbursement from the weekly or biweekly visits.
Hmm.
And the relationship is important, but it can't be a relationship where they feel like they can unload on you and just tell you all their problems and again, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's really very tricky when we talk about helping people solve life issues. I mean, the good idea of like the high value buy-in point, the high value freebie of what to do with Mercury retrograde. In some ways, I think that's a really great one. I have a great story on that. I signed a lease during Mercury retrograde. Didn't get the apartment I was promised, got a better one. But then we were only there for about 8 months. It was a great 8 months, you know, great apartment, you know, stuff like that happens. And I think that's kind of a way to go in with Mercury retrograde. Don't sign important documents if you can avoid it. Be ready for change. And how does that then tie into the teachings in general? Things change.
Hmm.
And we don't always know what or when they're going to be. We have to just kind of learn how to go with it in a positive way. Um, so when we look at this, when we're looking at getting the teacher trainees involved, um, My biggest level of disappointment over the last 30 years has been the failure of individuals to keep their word. So they start out real excited, they want to do stuff, but
Hmm.
then when they've got to do it, where are they? And when you're dealing with volunteers, there's only so much you can do to get them. You can't force them to do things.
Hmm.
So when we're dealing with these teacher trainees, someone's got to, lasso these guys in and say, like I'm reading that stuff on the one, what is the Menelaus stuff. Like, guys, you haven't even finished your coursework. You know, cut the crap out with theurgy.
Hmm.
Cut the crap. Get the coursework done.
Yeah.
Do you hear it in my voice? I mean, that's the reality of it.
Hmm.
So we've got to get these folks to go back to their promises, keep their promises,
Yeah.
understand there's value there, and yeah, there's a price to be paid for that promise. Guess what?
Yeah.
So when we want to, the idea is we want to keep it fun. Sure, we want to keep it fun. We don't want it as heavy, but it's almost unavoidable. You're dealing with the fact that this sucks. Buddhism, you're going to die. Get over it. I mean, how much heavier can it get than that? So we want to engage people with fun stuff. And I do wish we would have more fun things. But we've tried a lot of this stuff. We've tried movie night. We've tried a lot of this. We've had discussions all the time, but folks aren't showing up. So when I look at all the time and energy and resources put in just trying to get people to come on a Zoom call, for me, it's incredibly frustrating. So I'm all for all of this stuff. I just want to make sure that when they say they're going to do it, they're going to do it. They're not going to half-ass it. They're really going to get committed to that once a month or once every 3 months of really getting into supporting people in understanding that class. Because at that point, up until now, they make a mistake on something, it doesn't matter because nobody's watching it. At that point, you know, they're representing me.
Hmm.
At that point, they're representing us. So this is where my only concern comes in, is that we manage to get uh, that commitment level actualized because it hasn't been actualized. They've had more than enough time to finish this stuff. They just haven't. And then the part is, and here's the reality, this is not like other things. When the going gets tough, particularly in this, people drop out, people pop a cork, people get they have strange ideas about things. They get
Hmm.
very discombobulated. They make mistakes in their lives increasingly for whatever reason, and then we're the ones who will pay for it. I want you to be very clear on that. They will make mistakes in their lives, and I can think of three people we've been involved with, okay,
Hmm.
right now, who've been a tremendous pain in my ass because of their personal mistakes that then end up, we then have to figure out a way to cover up, not cover up, but
Hmm.
take care of, solve the problem that it pushes downhill onto us. So that really needs to be understood when you're dealing with them. And I think I know, John, we briefly talked about this, about the initiation. Like your guy asked you, "Hey, are you divorced yet?"
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, not yet. Good. Or I already had one. Okay, you're covered, you know. And it's not quite that way for everyone. I don't want to scare you off, but I want you to really understand, if you think it's hard to get people to get up and eat right in the morning and take a walk, we can get them engaged and get that energy moving. And this is the issue of the egregore. And this is what you need to be clear on too. That's what you're talking about creating more strongly. I'm okay with that because if you're smart enough and you're capable enough, and I think all of you are, by the way, I think you know how to get into an egregore and get out of it, how to not be terribly affected by its stupid, and how to benefit from and give benefit to what is positive about it. Okay. Because if we don't create a healthy, positive egregore for people, who will? They're certainly not going to
Hmm.
get it on most of their social media, and they're not going to get it in many of these groups. I mean, Josh and John, we've been around and we've seen these things. The statement about pity was just, you feel sorry for them, but you can't even help them. You want to help them, but you can't because they won't even accept it. But I just want you to know what you're getting into in terms of that relationship with people. When something happens, and this is, we got to be very careful because now when something happens in their personal life, something goes south, we are the ones who will get jettisoned, or we are the ones who get blamed.
Hmm.
And that's how it works. So I'm not trying, I'm just trying to prepare you for this, the, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That's part of the opposite reaction we have to prepare for because otherwise a lot of these things would already have been done. They would
No,
have been done. They would
no.
have been done. But my concern mainly is who our teacher trainees are, what they're going to be entrusted to do, and that they're going to really do it to the best of their ability and for real. Now, what I mean by that is they're not to quote me or mimic me or do a poor imitation of me, but what they say should have a strong resemblance or close approximation to what we've written, taught, and practiced.
Hmm.
And what I've seen in a lot of groups is I've seen that just not happen. And I've seen it too. And I've had to talk to some of our trainees about that. How when they start to give their presentations, they spiral off into these other tangents. And it's no, 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 no.
Mm.
We don't use that language. We don't use those terms. This is the language we use for consistency and communication. This is the
Hmm.
terminology. And I just say that, John and Josh, when thinking about these things, this is how we have to do it.
So maybe we're not, you know, I'm not an expert on marketing. I'm just presenting stuff, but maybe we're not ready for that yet. But
Well,
what are
I
the
got,
but what could we do to
I mean,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, that's exactly it. I want you to know it's a great idea.
Mhm.
We're not ready for it yet, but it's such a great idea because it's essential. In reality, it was our plan to have that going on already a year ago.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
So
I gotta say, man, go ahead.
let's find a way to get these people finished with their coursework and fulfilling their commitment to helping out.
I mean, I'm all about all of this. I mean, basically, when I come to this meeting or any of my conversations or works and all these different groups and projects, like, I'm trying to figure out where I spend that next hour every day. Because right now, this is all you got. This is all I've got.
Hmm.
You know, this is every day of my life. If I got to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, I'm waking up at 4:30 in the morning. I can't do the projects and get people through the teacher training program.
That's it.
I can't finish the teacher training program and do all the marketing and get the book together
Right.
and get further the website together and do like I can't do all this stuff. I'm constantly trying to figure out what is the maximal priority for my time to help preserve the living wisdom traditions of Western esotericism. And that's why I'm coming to John and everybody else here, about teacher trainees or anything else like that, because I've got limited resources, and I understand that reality of, we've got what we've got. So, and I'm not attached to anything. I'm not attached to any project or any any course of action. What I need to know is, what is our next step, because by doing one thing that means we're not doing another thing, or at least certainly
Yeah.
I can't be doing another thing,
And I think,
right?
and that's the point. So we have to find a way to get more capable heads and hands and hearts involved. I mean, how many extra volunteers do we need? Two, three, four, five, what is it? And how do we get those who we already have, that is, we'll say the teacher trainees,
Mm-hmm.
to finish their work? And like you said, you got to take charge of a class once or twice a year,
And I
you
mean,
know?
and the finishing the work is really a key thing here, because it's really hard, because every time I turn around, people have new enthusiasms,
That's
like new
it.
things they want to do, new things they want to try, new ways they want to help IHS. I'm not even saying that it's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
like
I know,
just
I
like
know.
practice ideas or whatever, but there's always like new stuff going on. And I hate to squash people's enthusiasm, but how do we get people to harness that enthusiasm into something solid? Also, too, it's just a matter of, you know I can do projects, or I can manage people
Right.
person by person, because we've got goodwill. We got
Hmm.
people who are nominally engaged in stuff, but unless there's somebody like following up with them, stuff falls off, right?
That's it.
And so, just like we're on this, and I understand to some extent that the problem, we're I put these projects out for people, and I it's up for people to pick and choose if they're going to make that a priority. I don't know.
Jason, do you have a question?
I've got a bunch of questions. But
Yeah.
what I just thought of in relation to James there was, wait, did he just disappear, man?
Yeah, he'll come back. He
I was
drops off. Sometimes his internet's weak out there.
I was just thinking like if we had a shared Google Doc that was like a project priority list, sort of like for James having to manage all these different projects, all these people have these different ideas. Okay, you have an idea. Let's create a Google sheet for it that's in a shared folder that we can all go look at and see these different projects and how we might be able to help. And then James can focus on the priority of those projects. And I can even I can even relate to what he was saying was like he had me on a project that I was digging deep into. And then I got sidetracked because I shifted focus to the conference. And
Sure.
then after the conference was over, he threw some other stuff at me that was about shifting to the new
Right.
website.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so I need James to kind of tell me when he wants me to shift my priority back to this other project.
Right.
Or or is it going into the new project with the book print that we're working on and doing ads for that, right? So I think it would be really good if we had a shared document where if we were wanting to get our hands dirty, if the volunteers had extra time, we can go in and look at that and we can add notes and say, hey, I'm working on this. I can help with that. Kind of like the way our signal chats are working, where it's a, a place that we can communicate back and forth about what we're doing with updates and such. I think that would be really helpful.
Okay, and that's something that is fine. It's just beyond my capacity to do. So anyone who, again,
Mhm.
organizing, that's fine. We had some kind of years ago, we had some kind of shared organizational structure. James may remember, he'll remember what it was. I
But
forget.
now I have to restate it all for him now that he's back.
Yeah. James, Jason was just saying it'd be nice if we had a Google Doc of projects that volunteers could look at and kind of know what priority is and what they could jump in on to help out with.
Okay,
Um,
we've had them before. Um, but yeah, I think I can put up another spreadsheet of stuff that's going on.
Yeah, when you
uh,
dropped off, I just kind of relayed to them that, I was an example of someone who dropped off of one
yeah.
project because I shifted focus to the conference. Then after the conference, I shifted
Mhm.
focus to the new website. And I
And it,
need you to direct me to tell me when to shift back to the other project, right? So it's if I could check in on a priority, an ongoing priority list that is really like opening a vault to your mind to what you want to focus on, kind of. I think that'd be a cool way for me to check in, and for other people to check in on ongoing projects and they can comment on other people's ideas for projects and chip in and see how they want to help.
Yeah, something it would be good to constantly bring people back to the same document and have people know where they're at and what they're doing with that. Yeah, I mean, there's even stuff. I mean, I've got a couple things that I need to pass off on somebody else that um, I haven't done yet that I think I could do so. And yeah, and I could just direct them to that and just be like, hey, look, I'm handling all of this. Hey,
The,
can I get you to take care of this thing
the
here?
details are in this link, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Well,
or
again, yeah, I can go and talk to people, but I want to keep it thin just because there's only so much we can facilitate
right,
all of this. I don't want to spend all my time. I mean, I work in a giant corporate superstructure. So does John, I'm
right,
sure,
yeah, yeah.
where everything has to be documented, and I want to keep this thin and treat people like grown-ups.
right.
I got a
I
couple
just I
quick
just want to, but
questions.
having a consistent document, I think that's fine.
Okay.
I don't want to try to write out everything that they need to do and provide
I got
how-tos
you.
and
Can you guys answer a couple quick questions for me? Okay, I've been wondering this. What are the incentives for people that are engaging in the teacher program? Like, are you sending them out on missions like to the prison or anything like that with this? Or
The purpose was that they would get a more direct understanding of what was going on in terms of teachings and practice, because they would more be directly involved with not only each other, but with myself and anyone else involved in it. And as a result of that, all they would have to do is commit to taking care of their obligations on the tuition, taking care of their obligations on attending the Q&A, and at the completion of the course, tell me each year how they're going to fulfill that teaching requirement. They have to, as an adult, say, well, they're going to fulfill that teaching requirement.
Mhm.
We are not going to send anybody to prisons. I'm not going to send anybody on some missionary work. They have to say, you know what? I think I'm going to go teach a class on blank at a local New Age store, for 6 weeks or 5 weeks. Fine. Let me know how you are going to be teaching this and doing so in a manner that represents the Institute. That was the
so
other
so
part
it's a
that
personal thing for them
it's a
mostly.
personal thing for them because that's all it can be. I have to tell you, that's all it
Mhm.
can be. This isn't like Buddhism where it has a missionary zeal. This isn't like Christianity with a missionary zeal. You have to be personally motivated and dedicated to it. So
And
like, it's like I think that, and that's where just back history, that's where Amwell got into trouble, theoretically, was because they would take out ads and say, we've got this giant end of the funnel. Why don't you join? And people would write in and they would join. But at the end of the day, you have a big end of the funnel, and what you end up with people staying is a fraction of that. But
There's
that was the extent. I mean, that I wouldn't say they were missionary. They were letting you know that here's the door. Here's the door if you want to knock on it. And that's
I
kind of the way it's done.
I think that the key takeaway that I want to have from this meeting is because this just comes down to membership, finances, and sustainability.
That's it.
So that's it. So the trick is, what is our biggest realistic priorities? What is our low-hanging fruit right now to make just 2 or 3 steps as efficiently as we can to move forward in getting more people? And as I think, as Josh wonderfully put together, we need a strategy to get people in the door. We need a strategy to develop a relationship with them, and we need to convert them to enroll or get involved. And if we can't do that, we're dead in the water. So we need to be able to expand, to improve each one of those segments.
I'll say that I think that doing the short videos that you talked about in terms of the giveaway, like I like this a lot. Uh, I would like to have someone other than myself just be the one doing it in
Yeah.
terms of how do you do stuff. We need to get more faces involved.
I
So,
I I really liked hearing, Josh talked about I know teacher trainees are unreliable, but one of the things that's really nice is about creating canned content is you can look at it and you can approve it. This is not the black box. This is not opaque where they're meeting people and doing something and representing the institute.
that was
Um,
one of the ideas that occurred to me, was having your teacher trainees you know, use promotion as a method of testing their learnings. Like, let's see,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
let's
exactly.
do a free
exactly.
class.
Exactly.
I doing, but I mean, just making content on, or a class where they lay it out and you approve it. I really love the idea of making an oratory.
Yeah.
This is practical. It's simple. I hear what he says about unfolding the rows. It is core to what we do. I don't think we should remove that, but we probably need some things that are shorter to get people in,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
your first ask is 6 hours.
Hey, it's what
That's
we
a
had.
I know, but it's a big
Yeah.
commitment. I think we need something that shows people their quality and something they can get into. And I really like having something that is short on,
How about the
making
power of
making it.
how about the one on the power of prayer and belief, that presentation? That's a short one. You want to give, I mean, I think that's a short presentation.
Any of the
Yeah,
classes could be cut into
yeah,
hundreds of short presentations.
yeah.
Hundreds, yeah.
I mean, I just want to say, because it's worthwhile. You remember when I put the biggest selling classes on Teachable?
Yes.
They were a little different than what we'd expect, even though I really liked everything you were saying about, you know, dealing with fear, mental health, security, and all these concerns. But if you look at the classes, some of them touched on that, but some of them did not. So some of our biggest selling classes are the 2 astrology classes, which
Right.
are way deep in the weeds. They are the complete opposite of that. And we had a lot of people go from one super deep in the weeds to another deep in the weeds. Our Brauca class was very popular. We had 418, so we did have a one that dealt with, I think, like you were saying, Josh, with where people are at dealing with their problems. That also had more women in it. So did the New Thought class, which was also very popular. So I think that there might be some room in both some of these areas where people they like some of the deeper in the weeds material, but they also, some of this core life improvement is a term we've used before. There's probably some places there. And as you say, we can break something out on the power prayer. Honestly, Josh, when you started and you talked about uh, the things that IHS gave you in particular, I think actually these are really good ones to talk about, because Keith Joseph, when he followed up with some of our, he reached out, he made phone calls to some of our students at Teachable who bought the most classes, who spent the most money. And one of the things that a lot of them talked about was mystic Christianity and Christian mysticism, Christian hermeticism. And this is something that I've talked to people a great deal about. There really is, I think, a great deal of interest out there. And it is my impression, honestly, that it is not well serviced. And again, it doesn't need to be, we don't need to become Martinists. We can have someone present on what has already been presented,
I was
on
in a
that.
massive Buddhist group, and there's a bunch of kind of country guys. I'm like, have you ever looked into Christian mysticism? They're like, there's Christian mysticism?
Right.
They're in the Tibetan Buddhism. They've been doing Zen Buddhism, and they didn't even know about it. Same with me. I grew up in
Yeah.
the country. I didn't know this was even an option. I told them to look up Martinism. They're like, I've never
I,
heard of that.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, Stefan, who I did some teaching with and everything. He's become Russian Orthodox, and he
Hmm.
starts getting in all these Eastern Orthodox texts, and he's like, "Oh my God, everything comes out of the Pseudo Dionysus. Like
Hmm.
it's there's this huge history of mysticism
Hmm.
in plain view, and we're
Hmm.
not even talking about stuff that is overtly esoteric,
Yeah.
but it's out there. They have practices and everything that are just
Yeah.
like, but they're just sitting there. So yeah, so Christianity. You talked about IHS teaching you to be a man.
So
This
helpful.
this
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is a real thing I've talked to Mark about. Is men are not doing well,
No.
and you want to talk about just. I mean, I know that there's terrible stuff out there, but this is an opportunity for some good material. Uh, you know, Men trying to grow up and
Yeah.
take responsibility for their lives and engage in a positive worldview and spirituality.
Hmm.
This is a big topic. This
Well,
is a really
also
big
not
topic.
not all men get to grow up around men.
No, no, no. It
The
is
most of
it.
people in my life have been women.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very helpful. It's very helpful. Yeah.
It really is. The you said you also pointed out that a complete path is possible, like unfolding the rose here.
Yeah, something close to
And
Tibetan Buddhism. Yeah.
something, just taking something like unfolding the rose
Hmm.
and abstracting to a, I know that's really, really hard to do, but to be pithy, to get these
Hmm.
really nice, pithy things that you can talk about Western esotericism as a complete path that isn't just this practice, just
Hmm.
this system of magic, which is just essentially uh, like a style for people,
Hmm.
right? I'm
Hmm.
into,
Yeah.
when I was at the conference, you know, uh, I know, Mark, you've talked about this all the time about spirituality as technology rather than like a holistic thing. I was talking to Amanda,
Mhm.
and she was talking about, we were talking about devotional mysticism. And she says it's funny because people will say, well, I work with this deity, I work with that deity, like a job.
Yeah.
Like you show up at work, like they're at the next cubicle,
That's
you
right.
know? And we were just laughing because it's like, that doesn't sound like much of a devotional relationship. I work with them.
If
Oh, great. But
if
again, it's because it's all walled off. This is
yeah.
a technology. This is my brand of technology is do you see what I'm saying? And seeing it that, oh, there's like a whole path here so that I have a reason for being.
Yeah,
I this is what I have when I die. The thing I said to Stefan, is what do you want to have if you get hit in the middle of the street and you have a fender popping out your chest?
Yeah.
Where's your hexagrams and your pentagrams? Like what do you have? What do you have left?
If you look at the Egyptian rite, very, very famous, very well known. Some of the sub-rites of it are incredibly influential, but not terribly well known. If you look at the Egyptian rite, if you look at that, that's all a form of really Catholic mysticism with a heavy Kabbalistic influence, emphasis on the Shem HaMaforesh, and the Olympic spirits, particularly the teachings in the Armadale, which I gave to you in Unfolding a Rose.
Yeah.
So I gave you in Unfolding a Rose basically the gateway to what are considered some of the most significant and most important esoteric teachings in Western esotericism, which is an Egyptian rite. And if you go over to, so it's about that relationship building and the devotion. If you go over to any of the French rites, any of them, they're all basically Catholicism with, again, Shem HaMaforesh and some Kabbalah. That's what they are. They're devotional practices. Now they have a Gnostic element at times added in, but they're not the structured magical curriculum that you see in the Golden Dawn and post Golden Dawn or era. That's not what they did. And they had a coherent philosophy and they had a coherent, I'd even say, theology. So that notion of working with the spirits was a relationship. It was not, like you said, in the next cubicle.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know that's just the way it was.
Yeah. And people don't know that that's there, and that's really, even you just talking about this is really inspiring for people. Honest to goodness, if you have a small presentation where you just talk about, and you've talked about this on podcasts, you've talked about this in all kinds of venues. I'm not saying that it's not mentioned. What I'm saying is that it's very nice if we can make this glib. Well, Josh, if we can turn Jason, that into a.
James and I talked about this, but Jason, we could do this. Essentially, we do this interview system where you ask me questions, I answer them, you clip them up, and then you go use them for something.
I'm good at interviewing.
Yeah, so we'll get the questions, and you do the technical part, and we'll have 30, 40, 60 minutes of Q&A that you can cut up.
What do you think about one of the things that I was also thinking, instead of just making content, what about I'm just spitballing here, but we have these Q&As twice a month, right? What if we had like one of those where we use them almost like a class? They're part of our recurrent ones. So if you're part of the Q&As, you're always there. But we have something where people come in, and again, it's that live event. We're charging money, and we have people come in for some, to talk about, mystic Christianity, to talk about a complete path, to talk about these things. We get the material, we get all of that, but we also get maybe some interaction from people. Some of the most interesting Q&As I've ever been on, and I don't mean where somebody is just going off and wasting your time, but has been from that question and answer piece.
Well, I think that's a good one. We've talked about that. Something we might want to look at, and this goes back to what Josh said. So we we could do this quick interview so we get our pieces, and the questions we do are going to be aimed at what you said, solving the confusion people have around issues. So we ask pertinent questions to practice in daily life that we can use to draw people in, so we can solve that. We can have a specifically aimed at that. That way we don't have to cull back through other issues or back presentations and see what we can find. We can just set this up and knock it down. Then we can look at the question or the presentation I gave with Bob Smith. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't greatly attended, but it wasn't poorly attended either. It was nice. We had some nice turnout from it. It lasted for 2 hours, and I think it was a good presentation.
I think it's great. I think it's great. The only thing that I had there is that it's for some, can promote a future class. But I think would be great is if we had something where if you had people show up on a Q&A for, Mystic Christianity, right? They show up for, a Q&A or whatever else like that. And then immediately you say, we have the power of prayer and belief. Right
I see
there
what
at
you
the
mean.
end.
Okay.
Right? Because if we're pointing to material we have right now,
okay,
That's
we
the end
get
of the
people.
lead magnet. That's the
It's
next
the end of the
step.
lead magnet because
Yeah.
that's the next part.
okay.
Is we get people into a full course. If you talked about mystic Christianity, okay, you have people come in for a $10, $20 class, super cheap, right?
Yeah.
They come in, you get a bunch of people. We also do it on the Q&A, so we also have the Q&A people. We try to make sure it's just well attended. It's 1 hour. I really actually like people asking you questions.
I got it.
Getting a teacher trainee to do this. Hold on. And then at the end, you say, we have this premium class on Brauka, which is the gateway to magic. About
Okay, I didn't see the picture that you had. I get the whole picture that you have now. I didn't understand what you were talking about.
Right. Because now we go in so they come in, they get a cheap class for $20. And then they have a $200 class that is the next step. If they want to step up from here, because they get just an hour, that's it. But if you want the next step, we have the Brauka class. And if you like this live format and everything else, guess what? This is part of a Q&A. There's going to be another session this month that you're not going to be able to come and see. And, there's, where we talk about, and you can ask questions about all the IHS materials and classes.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't understand the point. Okay, I see. So we're using the Q&A as a hub of the wheel.
I like that as a hub of the wheel because
okay.
It's time we're using anyway. It allows us to have the Q&A people because I think we have actually a pretty quality little group of people on the Q&As.
Yeah.
And we can leverage that. You get somebody, I honestly think somebody to ask you questions, whether it's Josh or me or one of the teacher trainees. I think this makes it really nice. So it's not, even if they're just asking questions, this is why it's interesting to watch an interview. Watch Charlie Rose. Charlie Rose does only 10% of the talking. But the reason it's Charlie Rose, because Charlie Rose is sitting there asking questions. It's not just one person talking.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it would be really nice to get somebody to draw some things out with a live people there. What do you think?
Okay, let's set that up so that we got two things that we can do immediately. We can set up a Q&A and we'll focus around Mystic Christianity because that was popular. We get set. We do a series of Q&A for daily life questions like we've talked about, Josh. And then we can also get you going on a 5 to 7 minute video, whatever you're comfortable with on how to do a sanctum. And John, you've been quiet,
yes,
but you've been rubbing your head. So some of this does fall on you as being responsible for our teacher trainees. What's your sudden, oh my God, what did I get myself into moment here?
No, I'm not feeling that way at all about it. No, and I'm a little quiet today. It's been a really long 3 days.
Okay. I got stuff to do. I'm going to be posting for everybody here to try to get that done. I would try to get Capo and maybe if we can get just some more people who are willing to watch our videos whether it's Q&As that we're doing or anything else, to make clips. We've already got this material. If we can just make clips, I know Jason can get those out. But if we're going to even have a YouTube channel, we should be releasing something every week on it, and we can just release clips of what we have.
I love the idea that Josh had about stockpiling clips
Yeah,
for steady
this
release.
is this.
Yeah.
It's not the most amazing, flashy thing, but it would really help us. It would make the channel more relevant. It would make people find it. It would sell our classes. And once we do this Q&A, for example, we should keep that momentum. We should have 5 little, clips. He says reels are the place to do it. Then we'll do reels. We'll just do, little 60-second reels from that. What do you think, Josh?
Reels are a big commitment. You don't
Or
expect they're gonna be
or
that, but I think if you're gonna take on Instagram, you gotta seriously stockpile for a long time.
Mm.
Well, I mean,
Long
even if you just
time.
do YouTube Shorts, if you wanted to, because we're already on YouTube. If we made, because YouTube Shorts are under 2 minutes.
Hmm.
The video that I went and selected and posted for everybody was
Hmm.
just a little bit over that, and I didn't do any editing on it.
Hmm.
If we had, you know, 4 of those from a presentation, that's not crazy.
Oh,
4 3-minute segments, we should be able to put out on every single interesting hour presentation, and then release those at least one a week, right?
now, just something, John, I think we need to talk at some point about the teacher trainee situation and what we can do to get these guys rolling. Normally, I wouldn't tell this to you until I had something definitely, well, if I had a definite answer. But Jocelyn Godwin had recommended me to teach a PhD level course with a school out in California. Now, that would be a 10-week course, probably 4 hours a week. I don't know what the schedule on that would be.
Wow.
If they approve it, because I don't have a PhD, so they have to go through the chancellor. And even though they've used my books and classes, you know how that is. They've got his, say, faculty of practice. So I do not know what kind of commitment that would be in terms of real time. My guess is for 10 to 12 hours a week, basically, because 4 of them would be teaching. So I'm expecting it to be, but it would be for 10 weeks.
Mhm.
I'm hoping to hear soon because you got to have at least the first 2 or 3 weeks ready before you start. But it's academia, so you know how that goes in terms of communication.
Mhm.
Um, but if that happens, I'm going to let you know because that's going to be a lot of work on my end to take care of that. So we'll have to see how. I wouldn't be launching any new classes during that time. We could do the Q&As, and do stuff on those for the hour, like we've talked about. But it would have to be a topic I'm already really familiar with, not something I need to spend any time on.
No, and if we get into a situation like that, honestly, I think that when Josh was talking about many of these smaller things, I honestly think this is something that we probably can trust involved members to do.
Good.
Who would not trust Josh to do a small class or presentation on creating an oratory?
Sure, sure.
It would be outstanding.
Well, I
You
think we're going
know,
to have that
who
done
who would who?
sooner rather than later.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We could probably get a number of classes with people who are already specialists in something that we can trust to do a single presentation on a very focused topic and reflect it in a responsible way. They can send you, an outline of what they're doing.
Oh, yeah. Also, Josh, we need to get James. We need to get then what do they call it? Statements from people about how it's benefited them.
Testimonials.
So yeah, testimonials.
Testimonials.
We need to get testimonials.
Okay.
Uh,
We
yeah,
could
Josh,
probably just drop that in the MOL group.
Yeah,
I think
I
that would be
will.
good. Josh, okay, when you ask for testimonials, uh, give an example or structure it, because people never know what to do. Just
That's a
make it
good
easy
idea.
for them. Say
Yeah.
like, just give a sample one.
Yeah.
Just say like, this helped me do this. I really, whatever. Give a sample
I'll
one so people
I'll
can.
I'll send an email out tomorrow on Thursday to what's left of the Teachable group as a reminder too that we're shutting down, but also to send us some testimonials. We'll probably get half a dozen off that
Okay.
from the
Are
few that
those
we
Okay.
got.
for are those for written on the website, or are we going to do like video testimonials?
Let me go read what Seth recommended on
Okay.
testimonials. I'm sure he had a section in that course on it.
I
So I
would
could
love
look at
to.
that and send it.
Okay,
Um.
I was
I.
thinking of an idea doing a compilation, a video compilation.
Right.
Like we
That'd
had
be good.
everybody
Yeah.
do like a selfie video. We could cut together just a comp. I don't know.
I.
That
Sure.
seems
I. I, I think that. Yeah. That's fine. Mark, when you send out to Teachable, just talk to me, because we need to start leveraging the Hermetic Institute. And since we've copied over all the opt-outs,
Hmm.
um, I don't think it would. I think it would be really good to send it from the
Right.
hermeticinstitute.org,
Right. Okay.
and to just, because that's where we're going to be. That's our new email hub. And yeah, and this is the first time too that the opt-outs have had anyone directly emailing to them. So again, this is why I think that we might get a bump,
Well,
because
I'll just send the email out saying that
they've never had anything before.
right. Well, I'll just send them the warning, the whatever it is, the 15-day
Yeah,
warning or whatever we got.
right.
Okay.
That's
Well, I guess it's already 10:30. I got to get going.
all right. Thanks.
Josh, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank
And
you.
we got 1, 2, 3. We got 4 good action things there to do.
All
And
right.
if Josh, if you could email that to everybody, I'd appreciate it. The slides.
Okay.
Hey,
Thanks, guys.
James, if you could get with me, we can talk offloading some teacher training stuff. Just
You got it. I'll be in touch.
okay.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
Let's stay